Like, I think that would have made a difference.
For sure.
All right, next story. Another thing that is going viral on Twitter. And you guessed it, the 30 talk. Here is the video. Everybody, I'm going to play it. Here we go.
On a Saturday. I'm 29 and single, and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought, I should probably get up and do something. I thought, why? Nobody's making me. I'm not missing out on anything. I went to Beyonce last night and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. And I danced and drank my little heart out. And I didn't pay a babysitter to watch my kids as I did that. And I woke up a tad hungover this morning, which is probably why I was in bed for so long. And I was just scrolling on my phone and I saw a picture of shakshuka and I thought, you know what sounds really good? Maybe I'm going to learn how to make shakshuka today because I have no plans and I don't have kids and I don't have a husband and I don't have errands to run. I can go to the grocery store and learn how to make shakshuka. So that's on my agenda today. Also on my agenda, probably a rewatch of some Real Housewives of New York. I'm also doing a rewatch of Normal People on Hulu, which is really spicy and I highly recommend. Weirdly, I'm into this documentary on Netflix about blue zone countries. So I've got a pretty stacked day. Anyway, I say all this to say, whenever I'm hard on myself about why I'm not married and I don't have kids and I should be further along at 29, almost 30, I wouldn't want to do anything else this Saturday. I know that you can do all these things when you have kids and you're married, and I understand, but the effortlessness and ease of my life, just kind of focusing on myself and the shakshuka I want to make or the Beyonce concert I want to go to really pays off when I'm hard on myself for not being where society tells me I should be in life.
Okay. The conversation online, as you can guess, everyone, is that this woman is sad and lonely. She hates children and she also hates she hates men, and she's going to die by herself. And no one's ever going to love her. That is the conversation online. Freeman, what do you think about this conversation? Or not
Why
even the
don't you
conversation,
go
what do you think
first?
of the video? Oh,
No, why don't you go
Okay.
first? I've responded to all of these last ones, and also you have a lot to say about singleness.
I do have a lot to say about singleness. Hold 1 second. I need to get my charger. Okay, I'm back. My thoughts. So I think you can take that video in one or two ways. I think that there's the way you can take it where she's like, and see, married people, my life is way more superior than everyone else's. Or you can take
Like
it
the
as
Chelsea Handler.
like the Chelsea Handler one. Or you can take it as, this is just what I'm doing right now, like making shakshuka, which I meant to look up because I have no idea what shakshuka is.
Let's look it up. I want to make some.
Yeah, look it up. So you can take it either of those ways.
Ooh.
What
this
is
looks
it?
good, actually. It's some kind of like, it says it's an easy, healthy breakfast with a combination of tomatoes, onions, garlic, and poached eggs.
Oh, I'm sold.
I'm
That sounds
sold.
really good. Maybe I'll make shakshuka this weekend. I'll join the Almost 30 club and make shakshuka.
It looks really good, actually. Okay, continue.
Okay. So you can take it one or two ways. I was really trying to listen to it for the fact of of her being kind of smug about being single, and I really didn't get that vibe from her, even though I did listen to a lot of people on the right. They got that vibe from her, and I didn't. And I think that has to go along with, we are at this moment in culture, specifically on the right, where everyone's overcorrecting. People are trying to push back on the feminist notion that women cannot be you can't be happy within marriage and don't have your kids. So we're
very sensitive.
We're very sensitive right now. And I think that is kind of what has happened on the right with this video, because I really think she was just sharing her weekend. Like, I don't think, and sure, I don't know if she's a Christian, so if she, the only thing that I'm like, the hungover thing, maybe but like if she's not a Christian, I don't think it really matters. I mean, it does for your health, but you know what I mean, you guys. So I just don't I don't get the big deal.
Why
Like
don't
I
you
said,
read what Matt Walsh said about it?
yes.
Because people don't understand like how fed up the right is about this video.
Yeah. So Matt Walsh said her life doesn't revolve around her family and kids, so instead it revolves around TV shows and pop stars. Worst of all, she's too stupid to realize how depressing this is. And it's like, you know nothing about this woman.
Yeah,
Her
literally. You know how she spends her Saturday morning.
not even her Saturday mornings. You know how she spent her Saturday morning once.
Yeah,
For all he knows, she could be a CASA volunteer. She could run a shelter for human trafficking survivors. Like, you know
totally.
nothing about this woman other than what
Totally.
she has decided to do this one Saturday morning.
Right.
And I think that because, and what I've really tried to do, especially this week, because I mean, I almost muted the word 30 on my Twitter because I mean, every conservative and their grandmother had a take, and I just could not keep reading it because it's
Mm.
very, most of these lack a lot of grace and understanding of like
Mm.
what is going on in society right now. I'm sorry, no shade to anyone. If you got married before 22 and you're like, heck, 25 right now, you have no idea how difficult it is right now. And you can say whatever you want to say about,
Mhm.
well, women
Mhm.
are doing this. There are plenty of good, godly Christian women out there who just have not met good,
Yeah.
godly Christian men for whatever reason. I mean, we
Mhm.
can list out the reasons, but the biggest reason I will say is because it's just not God's timing for them right now.
Yeah.
So I almost
Totally.
muted the word 30 because, and I'm trying to say all of this. I really do try to be very self-aware and like try not to let these people get in my head, but it really does feel like they don't like to see women content or
Mhm.
happy in their singleness. They don't like to see it. They'd rather you be sad and like
Yeah.
wishing, tweeting about how lonely you are.
And
And then
envying them,
and
like
envying them.
envying the Matt Walshes for
Yes.
being married, because
Yes. And
that will feed Matt Walsh's ego if people are
yes.
envious of him.
Yes. And to add to that, it also makes women more likely to settle for a man that is addicted to porn, or a man that does not have any ambitions, or a man that, I'm a Christian, and you asked him the last time he went to church. Well, you know,
Last Christmas.
last Christmas. Um, it makes women, because if you're feeling so sad, you're going to settle. And like, I want to give people grace and the benefit of the doubt. Matt Walsh doesn't want that, but that's how it's coming off. And more importantly, like, that is how that's how I'm feeling it as a Christian, as someone who's supposed to be on quote unquote his side. I mean, the people on the other side, they're not going to want to have anything to do with us. And we are people like this podcast, for
You can't blame
example.
them.
Right. And like this podcast, Classy Chicks, podcasts like this, like these are podcasts where we are kind of like a gateway into conservatism. We're talking about cultural politics. We're talking about, and no one's going to listen to anything else we have to say if we're constantly talking about how, yeah, women, if you're single and you're still 25, if you're 25 and you're still single, you're going to die alone. And you might as well just go dig your grave now, you evil person.
Yeah.
And you probably have 100 plus bodies. Like, if you
Mhm.
talk to women that way, you're not like, whose mind are you trying to change? Who are you trying to convince that this girl is so miserable? I can say, like, as someone who's almost 30 as well, like, I'll be 30 next year. And I think about that a lot. But I can say, like, where I am right now, as of today, you know, it could change tomorrow the way emotions go. As of today, I'm pretty content. Like, some of the things that,
Good.
and I've said this before, and I really want to encourage anyone who's single that's listening, whether you are 21 years old or 45, listen up, stop what you're doing, listen, pay attention. What has helped me is having other things and being selfless. And I've kind of talked about this before. One of the things really that has helped is having really good friends. One thing about me is I'm never going to really be lonely again. Like I have good friends. I have a decent
Mhm.
number of friends as well. I have multiple friend groups.
You really
And
do.
yeah, so like I am constantly trying to, and I'm also trying to be a good friend. There's seasons where I might not be the best friend that I can, but I try to make up for that and be a good friend to other people. So you know getting good friends, Christian friends that encourage you and do stuff with you. Last weekend I went to Matthew's Alive. This weekend we're going to the Greek festival. Like there's
Mhm.
going out doing things. Pickleball is becoming popular. I want to do pickleball eventually. Like
Mhm.
going to burn boot camp with friends, like doing
Mhm.
things, not just sitting at home and like thinking about how you're not married. Another thing is like staying busy in the community. So like I said, going to festivals and things like that. Also volunteering, spending your time doing things that are bigger than you, going to your
Making
church,
shaksha.
yes, like doing things. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to spend your singleness sad, and it's okay to be happy at where you're at right now. Like don't let these men, and I hate to say it, well, and there's women doing it, don't let these people who are supposed to be on our side, and I think that's the part that like kind of stings, and I've heard that from others, so I'm like, I'm not the only one who feels that way. That's the part that kind of stings, is like these are people who are supposed to be on our side, and they're not understanding that like sometimes you can't help it. Like you can't help that you're not married. Many people want to be married. Many women want to be married. Many
Mhm.
women, are saving themselves. Many women have repented and are saving themselves. Many women have gone down certain paths, repented, and are coming back, and they want to do the right thing, but it just hasn't
Mhm.
happened yet. And it doesn't mean that they're going to die alone. It doesn't mean that they
Mhm.
are stupid. It just means that they just have a different life path than you. And it's just so discouraging seeing all of these hot takes about this woman they know nothing about. Not only do you
Yeah.
know nothing about, it's like, do you hear what you're saying? Like,
Right.
are you seeing what you're saying? Your whole life is useless and purposeless if you're not married, you don't have kids. What? That
That's
doesn't
putting
even
your
make sense.
identity that's putting your identity in earthly
Ooh,
things,
tell him,
which
Freeman.
is ultimately a sin.
Right. Yeah.
You
So
know, my
that's
identity is
that's
not
fine.
being a wife. My identity is not even being a Christian. My identity is not being a potential mother. Even if I was a mother, that's not my identity. My identity is that I'm a child of God.
Amen.
Just like
Amen.
this girl in the video, just like Matt Walsh. It's hypocritical to say that because someone is or isn't in that walk of life, that that's somehow incorrect, because that would be saying that God is incorrect. And who are you to say that God's plan for someone else is incorrect?
Mm,
That's
you
my thing.
can't.
That's my thought.
That's good. So, if you're 30 and single, it's not or older than 30 and single, it's not the end of the world. Like God's sovereign. He knows what's going to happen.
Exactly. And I think we
Okay.
can all resonate with her feelings of, well, why am I not where society wants me to be?
Mm,
I know I resonate with that. I don't know what I'm going to do after college. I mean, I'm honestly freaked out that I only have a year, cuz like, aren't I supposed to have something lined up? Like, there are so many things that I can think of that I don't fit society's norms, and I think we can find common ground with this woman and all just like take a deep breath and like acknowledge that society's norms are dumb, and that like we're not all going to fit them perfectly, and that's okay. So I think just like befriending this girl, being grateful and happy for her that she's content with where she is, and as long as she's open to God's plan,
mm,
let's support her, you know?
yeah. Because I like what you said, open to God's plan. Because we really don't know if she's like turning down tons of dates and she's like, actually, I'm going to be
Sure.
single. We don't know that. So, like, why are we making this assumption? Let's just be happy for people, hope that they're open to God's plan, and then we all just go about what God has called us to do. I think that's the biggest lesson in
Yeah.
this story is like, you should just be doing what God has called you to do. Whatever Matt Walsh and all these other people are saying doesn't matter if God hasn't called you to do that.
And let's be clear, God never calls us to be hateful. So
I mean,
if there's anybody that's not following God's plan, it would be these conservative commentators.
Yeah. And I mean, the responses were just atrocious. And I really, like I said, I try to be self-aware. I almost tweeted something that was like, and I thankfully I caught myself. I don't know, I almost catch myself, but thankfully I caught myself because I'm like, you know what? Like, I try really hard not to have people get me out of my character. And I think as just I'm taking it personally, I guess, which, once again, being self-aware, I guess I am taking it personally because I am one of those girls that did not want to be single by 30. And when you listen to the way they talk about it, it's people like they just don't know. Like they just don't know and they don't understand. And they get so much. I mean, they get shared and people get comment and people just stack and stack and stack. So it's also really good, everybody, take breaks from social media. Mute some of the words. Like,
yeah.
Do it. And also, last thing I'm going to say on this, being married and having kids is beautiful. We just talked about how family is the foundation that we are trying to build everything on. So these are great, wonderful things. There's nothing wrong with them. But being married and being single, there's not one isn't better than the other. They're just different stages of life.
Exactly. And both are perfect because they're God's plan. Because God is perfect.
Beautiful. We're going to do one last quick. I mean,